There she is. The queen is here.
Oh,
Smile, everyone. Okay, let's see my nephew.
she got on the right
Okay.
Good morning.
I'm glad you got on the right color. Look at you coming in. We'll put you right. Good? All right, you ready? All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. So we're here today to talk about the crime prevention. With partnerships in the housing community. We're so thankful for the leadership here for allowing us to be in the space. They're going to allow us to actually have a unit in this space to also meet with individuals. So I'm going to share just a little bit about the program, and then I have a few speakers I want to introduce to have some conversations, and then we'll wrap up with essentially having you all kind of answer some questions if you have any around the initiative. From my perspective, how we could then impact from other areas around our communities as it relates to things that are not associated with law enforcement. And so what it essentially means is that if we're out in the communities and we have community members that may or may not really think about and reflect on the communities by which we serve and the needs that they have. And really when you think about the important piece of this program, it's about the interruption thereof. It's about if we're out in the streets, if my team is out, our street team may be out at 11 o'clock at night, if they're talking with people that now trust them, can they have a conversation about, listen, I'm really thinking about committing some type of act of violence. Can our team actually talk them down from being able to do that? So that's what really crime prevention, crime intervention really is. We have a lot of members about where the crime prevention kind of idea came from. We have subject matter experts that are going to talk about the technical assistance and training. And so what I have here with me is I have Mr. Norman Kerr with TCS, Trajectory Change Solutions, Ms. Uche Bean with the City of Birmingham, and I would be remiss if I did not also recognize our counselor, Councilor Latanya Tate, and we also have with us the chair of the Urban League Board, Ms. Bakara Malden. And so we'll start with Ms. Uche Bean to bring a word from the City of Birmingham.
Thank you, President Barnes. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Uche Bean. I serve as Director of Community Safety Initiatives with the Mayor's Office for the City of Birmingham. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. And I want to just send a special thank you to the Urban League of Alabama, Trajectory Changing Solutions, and of course the Housing Authority of Birmingham District for partnering with us and bringing us together. And of course, special shout out to Free the Streets, which you see behind us, who are our outreach workers that do this work every day, intervening on violence and really providing our community a layer of protection outside of only law enforcement. And also I have to send a special shout out to the Smithfield community. This is actually the community I grew up in, so this means a lot to me to see this work come to fruition in a community where I was raised and where I was born. I also want to thank Mayor Randall Woodfin and the Birmingham City Council, and of course our Chairwoman of Public Safety and our Council Pro Tem, Latanya Tate, for their continued commitment to reimagining public safety and understanding that public safety is not just about enforcement, it's also about prevention and intervention and providing services to those who are survivors of gun violence. Violence intervention is not just a project in the city. It is a core public safety strategy that we have implemented and we have seen results. I also want to acknowledge Deputy Chief Carlton Peoples, who is here with us today as well. He serves as Deputy Chief of Public Safety, and his role reflects what modern public safety looks like and the willingness to do something different when the data and the community demand it. We're here today because the results matter. And over the past year, we have seen meaningful reductions in violence and crime, and those reductions didn't happen by accident. They happened because of results of coordination between law enforcement, community-based organizations, data, and residents who no longer will accept violence as a norm. Community violence intervention works because it meets the violence where it happens, in real time, in real communities, with real community members. Our credible messengers step in before violence happens, and they respond after it occurs to provide support to the communities. This long-term support helps people stabilize, helps communities stabilize in times of crisis, and it helps people realize that violence is not the only option. But please know we still have work ahead. And anyone who tells you otherwise is not being honest. Our communities have dealt with violence for generations, and now it stops. Public safety isn't about lowering numbers, it's not just about data, it's about people. And I'm thankful that we are now making those decisions that are going to impact the community in the long run for generations to come. Thank you all here for standing with us, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
So one of the things I want to share before we bring up our next speaker is that, I mentioned that we do this across the country, and it's more particularly with the Urban League. There are 92 affiliates across the country that actually are part of the Urban League network. And then there are a few places like St. Louis and Chicago, they actually help to support this type of work. And so it's very important to understand that this is not just a local initiative, it's something that has been
Good morning, everyone. Just want to thank William Barnes and the Urban League of Alabama for all their hard work in making sure this effort is established and working for sustainability. It is truly an honor to be here in Birmingham to acknowledge and celebrate the implementation of Free the Streets Birmingham, a powerful and timely community violence intervention initiative that represents both commitment and courage. My name is Norman Livingston Kerr. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Trajectory Changing Solutions, a consulting firm that supports municipalities and nonprofits around the country to reduce community violence. First, I want to thank Mayor Randall Woodfin for his unwavering leadership and his continued commitment to reducing violence in this city. Mayor Woodfin understands that public safety is not just about enforcement, it's about investment, prevention, and believing in people who have historically been left out of opportunity. That belief matters, and it shows in the efforts like this one. I also want to recognize Uche Bean, whose tenacity, persistence, and refusal to give up on this vision helped bring Free the Streets Birmingham to life. These initiatives don't happen by accident. They happen because someone is willing to push, advocate, and stay in the fight long enough. Leadership like yours helps move cities forward in meaningful ways. Free the Streets Birmingham officially launched March 2025, and it's being administered by the Urban League of Alabama, a long-standing pillar in this community. The Urban League's deep roots, credibility, and commitment to equity make them the right home for this work. TCS is proud to provide training and technical assistance to this effort, but I want to be very clear, the real work is done by the Free the Streets Birmingham team on the ground. Many of them you see with us. They're the ones turning this vision into reality, day in and day out, by showing up, building trust, and walking alongside those who need the support the most. The CVI program is intentionally designed to focus on individuals who are most likely to shoot or be shot in Birmingham. That focus is not accidental, it's evidence-based. Free the Streets Birmingham supports participants in reducing their risk of violence and connecting them to real opportunities, including employment, mental health support, housing, and other critical resources for them and their families. The work is guided by real-time violence data, ensuring that outreach and engagement are directed where they are needed most. And it depends on collaboration, like this one with the Housing Authority, because no single entity can do this alone. So hospitals, community-based organizations, law enforcement, mental health providers, faith leaders, and many others all have a role to play in creating safety in our nation. This is not a 1 year or 2 year initiative. Community violence reduction is long-term work. It requires consistency, patience, and continued investment. TCS is committed to working alongside all of you here in Birmingham, not only to reduce violence, but to ensure that those reductions are maintained over time. Because when we invest in people, support them with the right resources, and stay committed for the long haul, safer communities are not just possible, they are inevitable. Thank you for believing in this work. Thank you for supporting Free the Streets Birmingham, and thank you for standing together to change trajectories in this city.
So I want to highlight something that Norm just shared, and it's on the long-term investment. And when he came, we had one of our first conversations. He talked about this nation and how we dealt with the COVID pandemic. And when we first started out with COVID pandemic, no one ever knew what budget amount was going to be needed, what the cost was going to take. And he said something to me that I take with me every day. It takes what it takes. It takes what it takes to be sure that we're making a commitment and making an impact in this community to address this pandemic. You've heard many health departments, and now I think it's a common sense. Violence is a health crisis. And so it's not just about something that's separate. It is about us making sure that we do what it takes. And that includes the investments, that includes the time. When you talk about our street team, what wasn't shared is that they're out on all times of night and all times of day. And so lastly, we're going to hear from a champion, one of the folks that I would say that, without the resources to do this work, we all know that there are resources that are needed. She's been championing this work, been all over the country and learning about this work, has been an advocate to be sure we do that, but not only an advocate to be sure that there are resources, an advocate to ensure that there are local organizations that can implement so we can help ourselves. So I'd like to introduce the Council Pro Tem, Ms. LaTanya Tate.
You're the champion. Hello, good morning. Everything has been stated here. When I was elected to the City Council and my colleagues entrusted me to be the chairwoman of public safety, I took that to heart. I had been watching Birmingham for a number of years and, seeing the numbers rise. And so one of the things that I set out to do when I got accepted into the Community Violence Leadership Academy under the direction of the Executive Director, Dr. Chico Tillman, I knew that I had to go and learn the framework. I'm a proponent of anything that you believe in, you need to understand, what it is that you're a champion. So that was a 6-month program for me to learn the framework, and on that journey, I met people like Mr. Norman Kerr, who, this really just laid the foundation for me to get a full scope of understanding, not diminishing the work that William and others had begun to do, but we knew that we had to do more. I really want to thank the mayor, for believing in me and trusting myself and assigning Uche Bean to walk this journey down with me, and believing in the men and the women and the people in the community-based organizations, because you all have heard me say many of times, we're going to invest in people that are closest to the problem or the solution solvers. And so I cannot thank William, his team, everybody. I cannot thank them enough. Carlton, Mr. Godric, the people who's come on board, because this is work that people didn't understand. We're not trying to interfere with law enforcement work. We're just trying to complement law enforcement work. We do know that those that do not want to take, any time that you're a high-risk individual, your actions, your decision bring about consequences. So we want to get ahead of this and offer preventative measures. And as they state, as it has been stated here, the substantiability, the long-term solutions, we in this for the long haul. And my goal is to keep championing, finding the resources and getting people involved and bringing in partners, all of the partners. It's going to take everybody. Mental health, everybody has to play a part. The community has to play a part. Everybody has to be involved in this work. So we've done a great job in 25 reducing those numbers. You guys have seen the numbers, the data don't lie. We have a significant low amount of homicides than we had in 25 than we had in 24. So as the mayor stated, this is not a victory lap. This is just the beginning, and we will continue to do this work and continue to see, the numbers reduced. I cannot be remiss if I don't thank my colleagues You know, I had to get my colleagues on board. It took a lot of talking, a lot of meetings that we had to get people to really get to understand this. And I always tell people, before you shoot something down, go learn what is going on. Walk alongside, you know, with the people that are doing this work, so you can get a clear understanding. Therefore, you'll be able to, you know, translate it to the community best. But I cannot thank those men and women who risk their lives day in, day out, who get in these calls 24 hours a day, doing this work, building trust in the community, because this is what it's going to take. Thank you all. Thank you, William. Thank you, Che, the mayor, Norm, TCS, everybody that's involved in this. Thank you.
So I'll just finish with just a few comments, and then we'll open up if there are any questions. Let me share that just one part of the investment that the city made in 25 was about $700,000 towards this effort. Additional funds were passed in this past budget cycle. And so I too want to thank the council and Mayor Woodfin for the vision and investment and just really the forward thought of thinking about doing something other just than investing in law enforcement. Law enforcement is going to be important. They are a staple of our community. We believe that this work is also a staple in the community as well. So with that, we'll entertain any questions anyone may have for any of the folks that have spoken.
What's been some of the first things that you've heard when you've implemented this program from residents themselves, when they realize they're seeing the calm, the peace that comes in real time with this?
So, you know, we've got a few of our members on our team that are very social media savvy, and they're seeing flyers that just pop up, you know, with messages, important messages. We're doing a lot of that work. And many of the residents are very thankful. I can tell you this, some of the residents that actually are high risk of committing the crimes are also relieved, because there's a conversation to give them a way out. Most of the people that commit crimes are not necessarily interested in committing said crimes. They just have no way out, and this is an opportunity for us to address that and help them do something different.
Looking forward into 2026, are you guys thinking about increasing budgets, implementing more programs? Can you kind of talk us through what your guys' plan is this year?
Yeah, hopefully. So the city, if I may share, in the last budget, it was like 1.5 million to address just not this program. There's a lot of community-based things that are wrapped into that. But listen, what I hope the community understands is that that's the city's investment. I think the corporations, foundations, and others also have a duty and responsibility to make an investment to ensure that we can continue to lower our numbers, because it's the community we all live, work, and play in. And so the idea is, when you talk about increasing the budget, this is only in one zip code. Imagine what we could do if we're in all of the zip codes across the city. And so it is about expansion work. There are conversations that we're having. We have these champions that are certainly Uche and I know that Councilor Tate are championing to try to find more resources. But the idea is that the city shouldn't necessarily bear this alone. And so we got to have conversations about where other resources, and that's another part of what the Urban League does. We, you know, as a nonprofit, we can receive donations and contributions, and we can write grants. And so the idea is that the city has made a seed, or planted a seed, and so we're looking for more resources that certainly can expand the program across the city.
And I know it was mentioned, you know, the overall reduction in homicides last year in Birmingham throughout. Do you guys have any kind of statistics or data that you'd be able to provide to show how, you know, Urban League and the situation here specifically, any data to back up a reduction in crime and to show that this is working? Absolutely.
So we'll be releasing the impact report. We just closed out the year. We'll be releasing an impact report that shows how many people that we intervened and had conversations with, how many people we connected with jobs and opportunities, how many people that we basically said, listen, they were in the midst of committing a crime, and our street team were able to come in and talk with them. So you can be on the lookout. I'd say in the next 30 days, we'll release an impact report. The council demands it. The mayor demands accountability in that regard. And so we're forced, but we're glad to comply with ensuring that the data and the work that we're doing is reported. We report on a monthly basis to the city about the work we're doing. So we're compiling all that information. We'll get it out very shortly. Yeah.
As far as volunteers are concerned, are you welcoming when you get those volunteers, or they're searching, trying to find you? How do they find you?
So they certainly can go reach out to the Urban League. They certainly can reach out to the city of Birmingham. But let me share this. The specific work of of violence interruption is not something that currently has a model that has volunteers or trained individuals engaging with the highest risk of shooters. But there are opportunities when we talk about the building of trust. So this team goes out and delivers food activity as it relates to the work.
What goes into determining if someone is a high risk of a shooter?
Very good question. So there are a number of factors, and I may ask Mr. Kerr to come up and maybe expound upon this. In the training that we've received, it really is about, have you committed a crime? Have you been shot, or are you in the midst of being committing a crime? We talk about the HAVI, if you all are familiar with that, the violence interruption with the hospitals. So take, for instance, if someone is shot in the hospital and there's a chance of retaliation, we're able to go in and have those conversations to determine if there is a space for retaliation and then try to connect with those individuals. But Norm, would you mind maybe just expounding on that?
Sure. I think you did a good job, William, hitting it. I mean, these are individuals who are in the life. They are focused. Right? So we're not judging anyone. We're not trying to turn anyone into law enforcement. We're helping them not cross the line. So we're going to work with them and support them. So if somebody says, you know what, I really need a job, I really need some services, we're going to help them with that so they don't cross the line.
So it could probably be said that this is probably one of the most raw, potentially raw means of intervention to step in at its most critical point, correct?
Absolutely. Again, our team are engaging with actual shooters, and you can't get any closer to the work than that. I think that's the most extreme important part of we want the message to be out, is that we're talking directly with shooters about what other options they may have. And let's be clear, this program is not about reducing crime across the statistics. It's about reducing homicides and killings in our city.
And you've mentioned before how this is meant to complement law enforcement and not meant to get in the way. Have you heard from law enforcement about this program, from officers or from leadership at BPD or Jefferson County, just about how this has been helpful or seen by law enforcement?
So let me answer the question this way, if I may. There have been other crime programs across the city. We want to make sure that folks are clear that there's a firewall between this program and law enforcement. Homicides, to reduce people from killing, there has to be a clear separation in the two. That does not mean that we don't have those conversations, because from our perspective, the work that we do also helps to make streets safer for law enforcement. It's kind of a circle effect, if you will, because we're all part of the community. And so we do have conversations about what our impact numbers are. They may share with us where hot spots are, but we don't necessarily share information back. The information that we share back is on our impact with the members that we have in the community.
Have you gotten reaction from law enforcement in terms of the effectiveness, even if not in data sharing?
Yeah. So with the program being new, I would say that it's been minimum. We're planning to actually brief. We did an early briefing with law enforcement because we needed to be sure they understood that we were on the streets, that they can highly identify who we were. And so again, with the program being so new, there's going to be some opportunities for us to have those conversations, brief them on the work that we're doing, and I'm sure that we'll be able to get some feedback in terms of the impact of the program.
Would you happen to have data just regards, because this does help bring down killings, do you have data in regards to, does this bring down shootings as well? Kind of how does that compare?
Yeah, it's gonna, so the impact report will show, because it's not just about folks that are, to your point, not just about folks that are being shot or that are dying from being shot, but it is about shootings as well. So that impact report will show all of the above. Remember, what I shared is that if someone survives, a survivor, they're in the hospital, and then we're able to connect with them, that's an opportunity to talk about how we can impact someone else from being shot from that incident. That we report monthly to the city. That data we have to have time to analyze the data, look at what works, what's not working, kind of make those changes. I would say at minimum, we're going to do once a year, but it's possibly it could be more, and I'll allow the city. You want to speak on that? You want to speak on it?
Systems system. So he did mention the hospital. Some are aware that we have a hospital violence intervention program that is in support with UAB, the Jefferson County Department of Health, and programmatically led by Offender Alumni Association. So all of these programs, we have a multitude of programs that are going right now. They all work together. So we are looking to look at the impact of all of them. We will be looking at annual reports, but as President Barnes said, we want to make sure that both fatal shootings and non-fatal shootings are going down, and so that we can make sure that this work is working. And what's not working, then we pivot. We look for new ways. We look for new ways to save people's lives and stop trauma in our communities.
So thank you all very much for coming out and covering this. Please be on the lookout for more information. There will be opportunities for folks to support this work in a number of ways, and so we'll certainly be sharing that information. Thank you all very much.
Get a group picture of everybody? You get a group picture?